Hi everyone, this is Citlalli with the Mexica movement, and I just wanted to give a brief update on what's going on. As you saw, I just uploaded a video that kind of gave a little bit more explanation on our stance against the planned canonization of Junipero Serra, and I think it's important to talk a little bit more about why we are taking that position. And as you saw, since we first heard of the planned canonization of Junipero, right away, we took action. We started our protest at Olvera Street, then we marched over to the cathedral, and we've done that a few times already. And this last time was this last Saturday, where we actually went and confronted where Archbishop Gomez would be. So that's some of the things that we're doing now. One of the things that we want to talk about, besides the actual process of canonizing Junipero Serra, let's talk about the background behind this canonization. We have to remember the foundation. How is this even thought of? Like, what is the process? Why is this even allowed? How is this able to become such a real step, a real process that's going to happen? Well, let's not forget that we are talking about white supremacy, the foundation, the culture, this whole system that dominates the U.S., especially obviously so-called California, is white supremacy. And the Christian religion, the Catholic religion, these have been great tools of domination and oppression by white supremacy. So this religion and white supremacy have been merged, and together they have killed millions of people. For all these people that say, oh, we're just bashing the Catholic religion, this is not about bashing the Christian religion or Catholic religion. This is about us confronting white supremacy and really getting into the history and not being afraid of hurting people's feelings when they're so blinded by Catholicism, Christianity. We, as indigenous people, as Nicantlaca people, have an obligation to decolonize ourselves in a way that's going to liberate us, in a way that's going to bring us justice. And one of the things that we have to remember is, first and foremost, we do not know our history. That's like number one, the problem here. We do not know. We have been systematically kept ignorant of our history. We have to remember that after the initial violent invasion of our lands, the intentional use of smallpox as a weapon of mass destruction, those of us that survived, which were 5%, because 95% of our population was wiped out, 100 million of our people, that has been an estimate that has been repeated over and over again. 100 million of our people were wiped out. Those of us that survived by being either enslaved or being forced to convert into this religion. And the process of that has taken 5 centuries. So it's really hard today for our people to identify as Nicantlaca, as indigenous, because we have this 5-century gap of when we knew who we were free people, to now. A lot has happened in those 5 centuries. And we are kept ignorant of our history, first of all. Our identity has been butchered and massacred by colonialism. They want us to pretend that we are a new race, like in Mexico, the proclaimed mestizaje, or the nueva raza. They want to proclaim that we are Hispanic and Latino, which is a marketing scheme, right? That sucks up all the resources of our people's culture, and basically started as a Cuban American project that they used and created to take over Spanish-speaking media in the United States. However, so we add on the fact that we are kept ignorant, we are branded as cattle of the Europeans, we are forced to identify with terms that identify us to them, the foreigner, the invader, as a way for us to decimate, to reject our own identity. And add to the fact that when they say, oh, we're a new race, you're mixed blood, whatever that reality is, we have to remember that we are still an indigenous people. We are full blood and mixed blood indigenous people. Being mixed has happened all over the world. Being raped has happened all over the world. But why is it that when it comes to our people, that automatically discredits us from really taking over our land, really reclaiming who we are? It's a way to disempower us. It's a way to belittle our struggle. It's a way to belittle us as a people. And what we in the Mexica movement always say is we are full blood and mixed blood indigenous people. So, we're not going to go around and, here's my blood count, here's this. We are full-blood indigenous people, full-blood and mixed-blood indigenous people. So our culture, our language, the fact that we are on our own continent, that in itself, the majority of our existence is dripping in indigenous culture. But because of the systematic destruction, annihilation of our cultures, we have this reality where we are in self-hate. We don't consider ourselves indigenous. We call ourselves Hispanic or Latino. We bleach our hair blonde. We put blue eye contacts. We try to bleach our skin. This is the reality. This is the product of 5 centuries of genocide and colonialism. These things don't just happen overnight. These things are the effect of colonization and genocide. So, when we're talking about Junipero Serra, it's so important for us to really talk about the bigger picture, the overall picture. The overall picture is that we have a system of white supremacy that governs the world, right, that is present on our continent. And when I say our continent, we in the Mexica movement do not acknowledge the European imposed borders that separated South America, North America, Mexico, Central America. Remember, those are terms that they created. They saw our land, our continent, and they chopped it off according to their little power schemes, right? Whoever inherited this land, whoever fought for that land. So there was all these thieves, dividing up stolen property. That's what it was. We had no say in that. It's not like it resembled or reflected our cultural definitions or our cultural landscapes. None of that was considered, trust me, in the creation of these countries, these colonial countries. So you have that going on. And the fact that we have been kept systematically ignorant of our history. And people say, in Mexico te enseñan, or you learn this in Mexico. No, you don't. In Mexico and Central America and a lot of our countries, we don't govern ourselves. In the majority, Spaniards never left. They may have gained independence because they wanted to loot and keep all the goodies to themselves, but that does not make them free. That doesn't mean that we got rid of Spaniards from Mexico and Central America. It's not. They just became citizens. They became Mexican citizens. They became Salvadorian citizens, whatever it is, but they are still Spaniards. So we have that factor. Then we have the factor that in this forced ignorance of our culture, obviously you do not know who you are. We have been labeled as cattle with the terms of Hispanic, Latino, raza, and mestizo. Terms that do not identify us for who we were. Terms that identify what they want us to identify with. They want us to think that we're European. They want us to think that we are not indigenous, because it doesn't benefit white supremacy if you have the indigenous people identifying as indigenous, because right away that lets you know these people know they belong here. These people know we don't belong here. It creates a whole culture of ownership and settlers, okay? The settlers don't want to be exposed. They want to keep us, the Nicantlaca people, the indigenous people, at their power. And so what they've done, there's so many things that they've created over the last 5 centuries. Identity, subjugation, identity, colonization, our lands. We do not control our lands. We do not control our education system. We do not know our history. So you have all these things taken into control. Then you have the Catholic Church, the Catholic religion, right? We have to be honest. And even if you're a huge Catholic or Christian or whatever, if you are honest and if you're not too blinded by all that, we have to be honest and say that religion goes hand in hand with white supremacy. Every inch of the land that was stolen was justified. It was blessed by the Catholic Church. There was a papal bull of 1493 and other papal bulls that gave Spaniards and Europeans the right over all of our continent, all of it, to do whatever they wanted for the kings of Spain. So you have the Catholic Church blessing the theft of our land, blessing the destruction of our culture, and here we have today, 2015, where the Catholic Church wants to canonize, make saint, a man who is documented to have been a fanatic. He was obsessed with self-flagellation, with self-penance. He was part of the Inquisition, let's not forget. So here we have a culture that's going to canonize, that's going to make a saint of a person that worked very hard to keep our people from being who they were. Okay, Junipero Serra established the first 8 of the 21 missions, right? This is all like stuff you can read on Google. But we have to remember, what does that mean? What does that mean? He knew our people were starving in the missions. Did he do anything to stop it? No. He knew our people were being killed. He knew our people were being raped. He knew, that was the culture of a mission. The culture of a mission was not survival. Why were our people escaping? Our people were escaping left and right. Why were there so many rebellions, so many revolts against the padres? Because our people were fed up. Our people were tired of being slaves. And so that's a history that is being hidden. It's a history that's being glamorized. It's a history that they want to whitewash because it doesn't give California such a pretty feel. And again, they want to glamorize, they want to justify any wrongdoing and the continuing theft and occupation of our land. Yes, we're talking about California, but this is an example of what took place in all of the Western Hemisphere. So we in the organization are completely, obviously, in disagreement of this. We think it's a spit in the face. It's like they just want to seal, they just want to seal it one more time, just in case we forgot, who our masters are, just in case they want to give this man, they want to canonize Junipero Serra. And again, we have to remember that Europeans constantly have to justify to themselves. They have to moralize to their kids. This is a lie that they have to keep going. They have to keep reiterating. They have to keep revising. They have to keep tweaking. They have to kind of keep polishing every year, because it's a lie that continues to give them power and continue to give them power over our land, over our people, over our liberation. It's in their hands. And so that is what this does. Canonizing Junipero Serra is telling the world, thanks to him, these savages were Christianized. We don't have all these Mexicans running around as pagans. Thanks to Junipero Serra, all of these savages were rescued from their savage ways. And that is what it is. This is a mentality of white supremacy saying, oh, thank God for Junipero Serra. And this we hear all the time, even in our culture of self-hate, where they say, oh, if it wasn't for the Spaniards, we would have been destroyed, we would have died, we would have been all ugly. This is the lingo. These are the conversations that people have. Okay, so let's remember what the foundation is. What is the foundation on which this Junipero Serra canonization is being able to be even realized, even thought of? And that is white supremacy. We have to remember that. We have to remember that we're dealing in a white supremacist world takeover, okay? And this is just another way to solidify that grip on our people's culture, a way to justify, and a way to just say, you know what, just in case you forgot, thanks to this man, you guys are not all savages now. Thank God, thank Jesus Christ. You're all now nice little converts, and we are able to keep your land, and we're able to keep taking your resources. That's what that is. So this went a little bit long than expected, but I just want to share that with you because I think it's important to give you a lot, kind of more points about what we're about, and share with you these points of views, these perspectives. So with the Mexica movement, this is Citlalli. Check out our links. I'm going to post them all at the bottom of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Mexica.